Welcome to our live stream on BE's 2024 Impact and our 2025 Vision. I am Natasha, BE Bolden's board chair, and we've got Naomi here, our founder and executive director. Welcome to our live stream, Naomi. Good to see you.
Yeah, this is I actually forgot that this was today, and I was like, "Oh, fun." Because I like getting to hang out with all of you. I know I don't get to see everyone, but please feel free to drop comments in the chat or questions in the chat or whatever, because it makes me feel more like we're actually here together, and I love it.
And it's so good. We always have some great interaction, encouragement, and questions from people. So we love hearing from you. So definitely, if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat at any point. But yeah, we're excited. I'm excited to share about the impact of the last year of what it has meant to support the healing and prevention of spiritual abuse in 2024. And honestly, because of listeners like you, we have an incredible community of generous supporters who've made it possible to reach, I'm not kidding, thousands of survivors worldwide. It's the reach has been incredible. And so I actually want to share with you just a little graphic of what we have designed to show you visually, just kind of what the impact has been in 2024. Be Emboldened has provided over 1,000 hours of one-on-one mentoring. We're going to talk more about what mentoring is in a little bit. 2 groundbreaking digital courses were designed and recorded in 2024. And just a sneak peek, we're going to talk about those too for 2025. We also launched the only conference of its kind, the Living Out Freedom Conference, that's happening next September. And through all of these avenues, safe spaces have been created through online support groups and other ways for people to connect with like-minded people who know what they're going through and can receive the support they need. So this is truly only possible, all of this that you see here today, through the dedication of people like you who are committed to seeing victims thrive and people being protected from being victimized or re-victimized. So we're so grateful for the work that has happened this year. And if you want to see this work continue to go on in 2025, we do have a goal to raise $20,000 by December 31st. And so I'm going to put a link in the chat, and we invite you to be part of this by clicking on the link and giving today if this message resonates with you. So again, thanks for being here. We're going to talk about some really fun stories, some other exciting things coming up. And I just want to start off with sharing about Kelsey. Kelsey is someone who's been a long time part of this team of people. She's been a client, she's been a supporter, and we just are really excited to share about her story. So she shared with us that because of her involvement in Be Emboldened, she says, I truly don't know where I would be without Be Emboldened. They helped me find the courage to set boundaries and learn to trust myself again. When I first reached out, I was confused and heartbroken, doubting my ability to think or have self-respect. But today, I'm remarried to an amazing man, have my dream job, and my past no longer dictates my life. I have confidence and joy again. Now, that is a good word, if there is one to say. So we are just thrilled to share stories like Kelsey's with you all, because the work that we're doing and what you're being part of really matters. So Naomi, I'd love to hear from you, just knowing how closely you've worked with Kelsey, if there's any personal experience that you've gotten to have with Kelsey that people might want to hear about today.
Oh my goodness. So I have several comments. One, that is one of the most unflattering pictures of me that I've ever seen in my life.
I disagree. I think you look great.
But it is just a great, I think, capture of the joy on their wedding day back in March. And she looks stunning and he looks handsome. And so it is fine. But every time I see that, I'm like, what am I doing? With my neck. Anyhow, Jose and Kelsey, they're incredible. They're an incredible couple. I absolutely adore them. It was such an honor to be a part of their wedding day and get to see this come in a way full circle for her. There are certain things that she's given me written permission to be able to share, and that she has included in her testimony with us. And when she first came to Be Emboldened, she was trying to save her first marriage and walking through that. And so going from that point to where she is now, has just been absolutely beautiful to be a part of, and to see this genuine strength that she has in her relationship with the Lord, in her ability to discern and seek truth, and her commitment to it, and her ability to trust in those decisions while seeking wise counsel at the same time. I mean, not to isolate, to put herself out there, and desire as well to trust others again. Even going through a loss of a marriage, and to be able to step back out, and find such a God loving, God honoring man and have that relationship. It's just amazing. The resilience. And I see people like this all the time, which I'm not saying that to diminish the special that Kelsey is. And at the same time, I meet people with these qualities way more than I don't. Because I don't think people reach out for support who are not desiring to have healing and to have change. They're not reaching out to vent. They're reaching out because they are hopeful that there's a possibility that this could be different, and they don't want to give up, and they want to see something be different, and so they're going to do it. They're going to put in the hard work, and they're going to do some really hard things. I mean, there is stuff that we talk about that is so incredibly difficult, and I can understand. I have experienced in my own life where it's like it could be easier maybe to just spend the energy stuffing that instead. But we know that it doesn't actually go away. And we know that we take further losses in our lives in ways when we go with that option. And so I always encourage people to seek the support, find that solid, trusted support, and take those next steps, whatever that looks like for somebody. Sometimes it is when someone is actively going through it, and sometimes it's been 30 years. And they're like, I just never really did go through it. I did stuff. That's what I needed to do. That was the option I had available to me at the time. And now I want to do something different. And that's wonderful too. So I do want to back up though, really quick, Natasha, before we continue forward. And I want to address what to me feels like an elephant. It may not feel like an elephant to anyone else. But I've recognized, like with being emboldened, I'm usually not the only one. So I do want to state this. Talking about, like, we're talking about our impact this year. We're talking about our vision for next year, two incredible, wonderful things. We are also talking about the outstanding need we have for resources for the vision that we have coming up at the beginning of 2025, and some of those initial things that we're desiring to get done, we see as gaps, we see as needs in the life of the organization, the sustainability of the organization, and the increased reach that we're having, and therefore the needs of more people finding us who are needing support. So with that being said, there is that ask that, like, hey, here's what's going on in regards to the finances. Finances can be really uncomfortable to talk about, just period. I know I was raised with financial conversations being incredibly private, and that I met my husband and he would just like talk about money with anyone, and I was like super freaked out and like, oh my gosh, you're so inappropriate, like what are you doing? So there can be differences in how people approach that. But for those of us who have come from a spiritual background where it was really heavy-handed on giving, it was not the doctrine of generosity. It wasn't like just be generous, whatever that looks like for you. It looks different in different seasons. It wasn't about that. It was about like heavy-handed, you have to do this. You have to give this amount and you have to give it here. And if you don't, then you're in trouble with God. I mean, it can go really, really far. So I just want to address that. My posture towards this conversation as the executive director of Be Emboldened is we're going to do the best we can with what we have. And the work we do is going to be able to reach as far as it can. And so if we have more to do more with the vision that we have, that's awesome. We're going to. And if we don't, well, then we don't. And there's a desire that I have to continue to grow. And because I know there's so many people that need support. And yet I am not going to be pushy about it. Like it's going to happen or it's not going to happen. And that's something that I'm genuinely like, I accept and I'm at peace with, because financial exploitation is incredibly common within the context of spiritual abuse. And so please, for any of you tuning in, this is just, here's where we're at. And if you would like to be a part of the mission in this way, wonderful. If you are not comfortable being a part of the mission in this way, I get that. And so please, I would never want anyone to feel turned off by or turned away from being emboldened because of a conversation like this. I think it's important as a nonprofit to share and to talk about what the goals are and kind of where we're at. But again, and I know Natasha, you could back this too. I'm just very much like, I'm like that with deadlines too. It's like, oh, we have this deadline and we're going to get this program launched. And then one of the key people ends up in the hospital and it's like, okay, like it's not getting launched. Like this is just, it's not all in my control. I'm glad it's not all in my control. And I'm really at peace with that. And so I just want to preface with it. Like, yes, we're going to talk about what we've done. We're going to talk about where we're going. And we're going to talk about the outstanding need that we have with our financial, the goals financially to meet the goals of the work that we're doing. If that works for you and you want to be a part of it, thank you. If it doesn't work for you and you don't want to be a part of it, or you don't feel like you can be a part of it at this time because there's kind of a catch that you feel kind of like within yourself, I still want you to be here. Okay. So like, this is a no pressure thing. So I will end that tangent, but Natasha, I just wanted to address that because as soon as the financial part comes up, like I can even feel that rise up within myself of like, wait, I don't trust this. This feels unsafe. And so I'm hoping to create that safety of if you do or if you don't, I'm glad that you're here.
Thank you so much for addressing that, Naomi. And I just really appreciate your willingness to have those conversations and to really be honest and be real. And so I'm going to be real too and say, you know what, we have a presentation where I'm going to put in the chat, there's a practical need and there's a way that you can give. And if you want to be part of that, we would love to have you be part of that. But like Naomi said, absolutely echo. If that's not how you can engage safely with this organization, we still want you here. And that is completely okay. So just be expecting that. There's going to be a couple more mentions of our year-end goal and how you can be part of that and links to click to give. But absolutely respect whatever decision you make. We just want to let you know what the need is and you can be part of it if you want to be part of it in that way. Well, I would love to just mention that, Kelsey's story is real and honestly, she benefited from donors too. And so if to make that her story possible for more people, that is something that people who are giving really are making a difference in lives like Kelsey. So, and we love sharing about her because she's not the only one who's come through such heartache to experience healing and wholeness after abuse. So a big part of that life change is because of the mentoring services that BE provides. So with that, I think it'd be great to talk more about mentoring and what that looks like. And so Naomi, can you tell us a little bit about mentoring services? Is it the same as counseling or what is it?
Sure. So there's a similarity, but no, they're not exactly the same. There is some distinction between the two. So myself and Anna, who are the two currently on the mentoring team, we are both mental health professionals in our respective states. And so there are guidelines, legalities around what we can do within our own state versus what we can do when we're crossing state lines. And in the case of Be Emboldened, crossing international lines as well. So we've had mentoring clients on 6 continents. I don't know how many countries, but I know on 6 continents that was easier to track. So with that being said, there's a similarity. We structure it similarly, and that we'll meet for 45 minutes or 60 minutes. There's a lot of flexibility in how often, whether it's weekly, bi-weekly. You have some people where I meet every 3 weeks, or some who are just as needed. Like they'll pop up and say, hey, can I get on your calendar in the next couple of weeks? We do our best to accommodate. So there's lots of flexibility there, just like there would be with a counselor, with how you schedule. And there is the similarity with how we meet as far as like our virtual platform that we use. We use a HIPAA compliant secure platform. I think that's super important. Some backgrounds for some are more intense in terms of like people trying to tap lines and stuff like that. So we want to make sure that everything is as secure as it can be. So in those kinds of ways, it's similar. We have a cancellation policy within reason. I always tell people, if you come from a high control background, please know we can reschedule if you are sick. Like, please know that you can do that. Let us know. This is within reason. Again, like, please don't bend over backwards if something happened. So in those kinds of ways, again, like sort of structurally stuff like that, there's definitely the similarities. Something that is dissimilar that I really appreciate about mentoring is it tends to be warmer and more relational, as in, like, I tell people, you're like my therapist. I was like, I just found out recently, actually, from a TED talk that he did, that he is married and has children. But it's like, you just don't know anything about the therapist. And that's changing a little bit in some circles for therapists, counselors, mental health professionals, whatever term they use for their licensing board. But overall, you're not going to really know anything about the person. And that's intentional. And that's for good reason. That's fair. I'm not coming at that model. With this context, one, you're going to know more about me just if you go to YouTube or Google it, Google my name. So just kind of like recognizing that that's the case, as well as recognizing that a lot of people who reach out to be emboldened, they have felt really isolated and alone, and they have not felt like anyone gets it. And so being able to share some personal connecting points, being able to share some from that experience, being able to share some of what we're seeing big picture too, because we meet with so many, again, like across the globe from this context, and being able to say like, hey, this is normal. Like, we see this a lot. And so being able to say things along those lines too tends to be really helpful for someone feeling supported. Nothing is shared with the focus on oneself. Nothing is shared that's like an active issue where the person would feel like they need to be there for us. That's not the point. It is designed in a way to allow that person to, again, be seen and feel like they are understood and they are known, and to build some of that relationship. So that, again, is a distinction, that kind of, not that therapists are cold, but more of that, like, I show up and I share and then I leave, and there's a little bit more, I would say, like, connection that happens here. And something I really love about that is the safety it creates, and the possibility of, yeah, no, this was a genuine relationship, and there's a possibility to have other genuine relationships now too. And I think that's a really beautiful kind of side effect of the model that we use. So those are some highlights of mentoring. I would say it's like the cornerstone of Be Emboldened, because I think in one regard, well, because it's just needed, but also because it's the first like direct service that we created. So mentoring's been around for, I think it was summer of 2021 that mentoring started.
Incredible. Thank you so much for sharing about that, Naomi. It's really good to know what you're getting into before you sign up, right? Another question about it. We talked about this very candidly, so I think it's important to address here too. We recognize that people coming out of spiritual abuse have been financially taken advantage of. So, are these services affordable for people who that's part of their story?
So whether it's affordable or not, of course, depends on someone's financial picture. So our goal, of course, is that it's affordable. I'm hopeful it's affordable. We tend to always at least be flirting with the line of a wait list. So as far as our capacity, I would say it seems to be affordable for people. With that, I know that there are times where people need sponsorships. And so we encourage people to reach out to see if there is one available, or if we could get one available. That is one of the needs that we have, is to be able to offer more sponsorships for people, because if they've been kicked out, where they've like lost their jobs, of course, that's huge. We definitely have that, where people were working in the environment that they had to step away from, and so they lose their jobs by default as well. We also have people who come out of really heavy-handed, high control groups similar to mine, where we've absolutely had women where they weren't allowed to go past like the 8th grade. And so they've never had a job. And they are trying to figure that out for the first time. And so absolutely they need help with resources, and we don't want to turn anyone away. So that is an area where people can give, is in the sponsorship category, to help with mentoring, but also to help with our courses and our BE Plus program. So there's different options, but it does create that ability for people who either need a reduced rate or need a zero rate to be able to get started with services as quickly as possible. As far as the rate, so 45 minutes is $100. This is right on our website. So everyone could go to beemboldened.com/mentoring and see this on the website. A 45-minute session is 100 and a 60-minute session is 130. To give a comparison point, now this can vary a bit by state, but we initially came up with those rates because we looked at the United States average. If you are outside of the United States and you have a different currency rate, and you're like, wow, that's actually like really massive in my country. Let's say we had someone in Central America reach out and be like, that is so unattainable. Please reach out and let us know that, because we would want to have that conversation, try to make it attainable. But when I compared, like, I know, for example, contractors who are doing similar work are at like 190 for 50 minutes, to give an idea. So we are about, what, that wouldn't be quite 50%. What would that be, like 55% or something like that if we looked at our 45 minutes, because it would round to our 45-minute comparison. So that's what we're trying to do, is be like, okay, what is sort of the general average that we're seeing in the United States? And we want to come in, I would say, like at least 35% lower, if not 40 to 50. Like, that's our goal. We haven't raised the rates in the past couple of years. I don't have any intention of raising them in 2025. We're hopeful that we will just continue to have the support that we need to be able to offer the services that are needed. I'd really rather not have to increase them. With that being said, we do have some clients as well who are paying a slightly higher rate because they're able to do that. And that's wonderful. It helps support, again, sponsorships for those who need it.
Wow, that's incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that, Naomi. I also just want to ask, I'd love to hear some stories of, like, what have you seen accomplished through the mentoring services that BE has provided in 2024?
Oh, holy moly. This year was really, gosh, this year was massive. And I think the reason it's been so massive is because we're several years in now. And so we've had some people who were getting services of one kind or another for a longer period of time. And so we've just seen the longer term results of that support. And because this is, I mean, I think any of us who are going through this, we recognize, like, wow, this is a long haul. Like, this isn't a like kind of get in, get out, like short term focus situation where it's like, oh, I'll go for 3 months and then I'm like totally on my own. Like, you don't necessarily have to stay with mentoring. Like, you could drop and go do other kinds of services and things. But this is like a journey that we're on. Like, we use the word journey on purpose because it is a journey. It takes time. And so, yeah, this year was really cool because we've been doing this for a few years. And so we've had clients that, you know, who have terminated services with us because they're good and they don't need us anymore. We've had a lot of that this year, which has been incredible. And they really are doing well. You know, like, we run into them in other ways and come across like updates, or they send us updates and things. We get to see, like, wow, like, these people are really genuinely in a different place. Like, their lives for real look different. And so, like, we had Kelsey get married. We got to see that. Jesse, who has also shared his story. And just so you guys know, like, the people that we've been sharing about, Blake, Jesse, and Kelsey, those are really their photos. Those are really their names. Like, they, again, signed all the releases and were like, put our faces out there, put our names out there. That is not a recommended fit for everyone. Not everybody should be doing that, but it worked for these three. And I'm so thankful for them, that they were able, and that they were also willing, with that ableness. Again, not everybody's able, let alone willing, but some, I would say, please don't do that. It'd be way too high risk right now. But it's been really amazing to be able to share their actual names, their actual faces, and again, these snippets of their stories. But so some of you may have already seen Jesse in his tux and his beautiful wife, Sarah, in her gorgeous wedding gown. And so I got to be at their wedding, which was really incredible. That was this past summer. I got to travel out and attend their wedding. It was so special. We've seen baby showers. We've seen, gosh, people step back into churches for the first time who never thought that would probably happen. We've seen people be open to the idea of faith who had not been, and explore more, like, who is God, and have those kinds of conversations. I had someone that stands out to me, who originally came to Be Emboldened saying, like, I don't want to connect with anyone in real life. Like, Not that I'm not real life, but it's virtual. It's the screen, it's a bit different, it hits different. So, and didn't even realize this when we were terminating. This individual said to me, like, I just want to connect with people in person. Like, I want to get out there and I want to be in person, like meeting with people. And I reflected back to this individual where we had started. And they were like, oh my gosh, like I didn't even realize that. And so that speaks to the healing that happened. And it's just been really amazing. It's been an amazing year. Again, I believe that a lot of that is the amount of time that we've had, but it's so special. My goodness. Thank you for asking me that question.
Wow. Yeah, that is such an amazing question to hear the answer to, honestly, because this is why we do what we do. Like these stories is just, they're so special to hear. You've learned a lot about mentoring, but mentoring might not be the right fit for everyone. And so that's why the BE Plus subscription exists. So I'm really excited to share about this part. We'll have Naomi share about this part because we really saw a need for people to engage in an approachable setting. And like Naomi said, someone said, I don't want to engage in real life. Like this might be a good middle ground, for someone who might be in that position. But getting to connect with people in support groups and might be a little more affordable as well. As well as receive additional benefits like curated resources, fun perks like discounts and merch to conference tickets. So I'd love to hear, Naomi, just the heart behind BE Plus, and what are you seeing, happen through that growing BE Plus community since we've started BE Plus?
So I absolutely love the BE Plus program, and I recognize that I am not a totally objective reviewer of this program. However, here's why I wanted to start it. I recognized, well, it's not even like there was a gap. Like, yes, there was a gap, but like we had mentoring and we had digital courses, which we'll get to. And so I was like, okay, we need another option for people who want more, but either don't want, don't need, whatever it may be, like one-on-one mentoring. So I wanted to provide an option, and I recognize the need for an option for people to be able to gather. It is virtual. So to be able to gather from wherever, have the option of like sharing or not sharing, so super low pressure, be able to connect or just observe, and have a BE direct service person there. So like myself, Anna, TC Cannon as well has done led a virtual group, facilitated, and they don't need like the one-on-one though. So again, there's various reasons for it, but I think it really supports in all three directions, and I'll list those out, which is part of why I love it so much. It supports people who are receiving one-on-one mentoring or two-on-one. Sometimes it's a couple, or it's a couple friends, or it's a few people. So it doesn't have to be one-on-one, just side note. But people who are receiving that kind of more, I would say more intensive, but not like it's intense way, but more specialized, like more like curated to them, more focused on them. So people who are receiving that, there are some who are in BE Plus who are like, okay, I'm doing the one-on-one, or I'm doing the mentoring two-on-one, whatever it may be, but I also want to just kind of fill in a bit. And so I want to add this on. So I'm going to do mentoring and I'm going to do BE Plus because I want to also like be talking to other people. Like I want to hear other peers and like what they're going through and have conversations, and maybe like dip my toe into some social connections, but in a way where I know like it's facilitated. I know it's safe. I know there's, a code of conduct that we hold to. And again, super low risk, super low pressure. So it fits really well in that direction. It's also a really great like initial connecting point with Be Emboldened, because it's not one-on-one. And so people might want to dip their toe in. And we've seen that too. Like, okay, I'm starting with BE Plus. All right, now I've gotten a feel for Anna and Naomi or TC, and I've gotten a feel for like the conversations and whatever I've been able to observe. I've shared a little bit. Okay, I think I do want to address some stuff that's coming up in these sessions one-on-one with a mentor. So we've seen that happen. It is also a really great step down. And that was one of the reasons I actually started, because I recognized some people were hitting the point of like, well, I don't need the one-on-one, but I want to drop to nothing. So BE Plus provides for that too. You still run into us. You're still getting to connect again with others. You're getting that meeting place that is not just like wide open, like walking into some book club or whatever, So there's, again, we've got a code of conduct. We've got people who we know understand this context. They know it's real. They get it. and they're willing to show up, and they want to connect in some way to some degree as well. So it works in all those directions. Now, I will say these virtual gatherings that I'm talking about, I think they're like the most significant part of BE plus, and it's designed to be like, that's really where I would say like you're getting the most for your time, the most for your resources in general, financially and time. But there are other perks that come with it. So we have Lindsay Mendenwalt, who you may be familiar with from our live streams. She writes a blog. She contracts with us to write a blog for us every month, which is incredible. She's an excellent, excellent writer. So clear, so easy to understand. We talk about topics that I'm seeing, and she writes it, and we collaborate, and it's awesome. And we publish one of those a month for BE Plus subscribers, as well as there are discounts for things. So like for people who are wanting to attend our first in-person conference next year in September, BE Plus subscribers, if you're logged into your account, there's an automatic discount applied at checkout on top of any other discount code that might be floating around out there. So they also get discounts on gear. They get discounts on BE Live Free Collective, which is our growing digital course library. So they get discounts on that too. So again, there's different perks, and perks continue. Like our conference is new, and so that's a new perk that's been added for the next year, and that will continue to happen. I am really wanting to pour into this more in 2025. There's also a private, it's going to be a Facebook group. It's been Discord, but we're switching it over for 2025 because that seems to be more accessible for people. So people can be in there and like connecting in between virtual gatherings as well. So I really want to pour into this program. I would love to have like 20 virtual gatherings a month with 100 people subscribed. Who get to jump in and you just register beforehand. So you get your virtual link so that we know if anyone's showing up or not. And I just think it's an incredible service. I really believe in it. I think it meets a massive need that is out there, and it is designed to be financially accessible. So our hope is that it is. We're getting really great feedback on it. It's $24 for one person, and it's month to month. You can cancel anytime. So no commitment. $24 for one person a month, and $39 for a couple per month.
Wow, that's amazing. It's so encouraging to see what has happened in this past year with BE Plus. So if you think BE Plus might be right for you, I just added a link to the chat. So you can click on that to learn more, and everything that Naomi shared as well is on that website too. And it might be a great gift for someone you know. If there's something they might want to check out, it's that time of year where gift giving's happening. So consider that for your gift list. So this is what's happened in 2024. We definitely want to talk about what's going on in 2025. We've already alluded to it several times that we've got big things going on. So I just want to share with you another little graphic just to show some of the exciting stuff that we're looking forward to in 2025. In 2025, we plan to launch 2 new digital courses that are going to reach people worldwide. We're going to talk more about the power and impact of our digital courses. We're going to expand our mentoring program to support more individuals and groups. Obviously, you can see the impact of that and the need for that. Something we haven't talked about yet is church resources. So we want to develop additional church training resources to prevent spiritual abuse from happening in the first place. And of course, we've talked about our conference. That's going to happen in September 2025. The Living Out Freedom Conference will be going on in Tennessee. And then, as Naomi just mentioned too, creating new BE Plus content, addressing the intersection of trauma and faith, and so much more that BE Plus subscribers are really going to continue to get a lot out of that membership. So again, if any of this is resonating with you, if you want to be part of making this possible, we do encourage you to give towards Be Emboldened. Like, this is what you're giving towards. And again, no pressure here. This is just us communicating to you kind of what we're wanting to do and how you can be part of that if that's something you want to invest in financially. And we're glad you're here no matter what. So Naomi, I'd love to hear too, just about the digital courses launching in 2025, Rebuilding with Biblical Literacy, which tackles the challenge of how to read and apply your Bible after it's been weaponized against you. Huge topic for most people who've been spiritually abused. And then a separate course, which is the Arcani series, which addresses the 7 most common questions we're asked about God and Christianity from those who've experienced religious abuse. What kind of impact do you see these courses making, Naomi?
Well, it's been a few months now since I saw the trailers for them. We haven't put the trailers out yet because there's a couple edits taking place, but I was there and I was so moved and impacted by the trailer alone that I cried when I watched it. Um, it is, I don't know that I have adequate words for the experience of sitting down in a recording studio with 3 other real life survivors and having authentic conversations about these topics. I mean, this isn't scripted. I mean, what's scripted is the questions. Like I know the questions in advance, and the teaching elements where it's like, okay, like let's like equip and go through some certain things. Like that is already, you know, out. Like we know what we're going to be saying for that. As in me, there's nothing scripted for the other 3. So those are the only parts, because I want to make sure I don't forget anything, of course. But that like dialogue, that conversation, for anyone who's unfamiliar with our courses, our Rebuilding After Religious Abuse course came out, I don't remember, a couple years ago now. And it's, so if you're familiar with that, it was filmed in the same kind of format. The quality is incredible because we were in a studio for this one. Like the lighting, the audio, I mean, it's just perfection. It looks absolutely amazing. So that was super important to me. I'm like, hey, what can technology do? Let's use it. Let's do what we can do with technology. And so, yeah, it's just incredible. But that experience of sitting down in a room for, I mean, that was 3 full recording days by the time we're done, because we did both courses in one long weekend. Oh my word. I mean, it is crazy impactful. So there are so many opportunities for you to resonate with something that someone is saying, and to see some of your story and someone else's story, and to hear where they're at and how they got there, and just being really honest. And as well as, again, like having kind of more equipping in things to consider, and a better understanding of maybe some next steps forward that are being offered to you and why they're being offered to you. So it's an amazing experience. I think we were all impacted by that time. Not only that we were exhausted, but that it was just such an incredible thing to be a part of. I am so ready to get these courses out. We recorded the next 2 back in March, and I was really hoping to have one released by the fall. There's a big transition, though, that happens from converting our current BE Live Free Collective website, because it's strictly been Rebuilding After Religious Abuse, that first course. So this conversion to now it's actually a collective. So like everything basically has to change. Like the landing page becomes a tab, and there's a new like there's just a lot that goes on with all of that. As well as getting all the final edits on 2 courses. It's a massive amount of recording to watch. I think it took me like 20 hours maybe to watch back through them and make notes for final edits. So anyway, there's just a lot that goes into it. There's PDFs that go along with them. We want to add like potentially little quizzes just for your own like memory. You're not graded on anything. None of it's tracked, but like some people like that. We have weekly summary sheets for further reflection. So just getting all of that stuff together, I am really hopeful and gunning for it. Like everything that is in my power to do as an executive director is being done for one to launch by the end of March. And then we would launch the other one either in the summer or in the fall, as well as we have got to get started writing the next 2. The next 2 are going to be like a part 1, part 2. I already know what they're going to be about. We really want to get started writing. That is one of the financial needs we have with the $20,000 goal, is because I have a contractor who helps me with writing the courses. And I have to have their help. I wouldn't be able to do it on my own. And so I need to get them started, but I need some initial resources to get them started. So putting out these first 2 courses, that is fully funded. And we are so, so grateful for everyone who helped fund those. So we have the resources to see those through to the finish line and get them out. It's just the work getting done behind the scenes. I want to get started though on writing the next one, so we don't end up with a huge lag again. Like I would like to drop the next ones the following year, which means we would be recording them next fall. And it's like, we've got to get it moving. So yeah, I am so excited for these 2 to go out. They are so needed. And some of you watching this, you might be like, oh yeah, well, that makes sense that these would be the next 2. The reason they're the next 2 is because this is the order in which I have conversations with people. And so it's just like really natural to put it together in this way. Rebuilding After Religious Abuse is foundational. I truly believe everybody should take it. because I talk about those 7 topics with literally every person I have a conversation with. Doesn't matter how long they've been out. And it also, even with people who have not survived it themselves, but they're trying to support someone else, I have all of these conversations with them. So we have people who are clinicians go through this. We've had people who have a loved one go through this, and we get great feedback on it. So that to me is foundational. We need that to get our feet under us. Well, as we're kind of getting our feet under us with some of like our trauma and our triggers and our grieving, we're then like, okay, now I'm more front and center with my theological doctrinal questions. Well, now we're talking about our Can I series, which is our 7 most asked questions about God and the faith and Christianity. And none of this is done in like a pushy way. Like that we're talking about it and we're understanding how loaded these topics are. We're not coming to these questions with a fresh slate. Like it's not a clean slate. There is a lot behind these questions and they carry a lot of weight. And it can be even hard for us to address them. So that's part of why I love offering these in a digital course format, because it is the most non-threatening way to engage with this content. You can do it in the safety of your own space. You can pause it. You have access to it for a year once you purchase it. So you can do it at the pace that you need to go through it. You can go through it multiple times if you want to. You can take the whole year to go through it if you want to, like whatever that looks like for you. And that was really important for me. And it continues to be important for me as we release new services and new programs, is that they come in at like different levels of sort of what could be a perceived risk for someone. So I would say our BE Live Free Collective digital library, no risk. Because again, you're just going through a digital course on your own. There's nothing live. It's just you. BE Plus and mentoring would weigh differently depending on someone's comfort with one-on-one versus someone's comfort with a group. So we're wanting to offer these different ways of different levels of accessibility based on someone's comfort level. Our conference could feel less risky for someone because it's going to be a lot of people and you can kind of blend in, or it could be crazy high risk because it's other people live. So again, we're wanting to offer these different levels so that everyone who finds Be Emboldened and is in need of support, they have some initial access point that they are comfortable with so that they can get started. And then maybe they segue into something else over time.
I think one exciting thing too is that this Rebuilding After Religious Abuse course is going to be on demand, so that people can access it at any point. And I know that's the eventual goal for all of our courses too. Yeah.
It
So
is on demand now.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and that's actually an announcement that has not been announced. So, and we have so much going on with the end of the year with our early bird pricing for our conference ending on December 31st. And this, conversation where we're talking about our impact and our vision for next year, that I was like, I just cannot announce something else. Y'all are going to be like, good heavens, slow down, lady. So we're not going to put out like social media and an email and all of that good stuff until January. But if you happen to catch this, please know Rebuilding After Religious Abuse, it was what was called a dripped format. Like it started on a date and it ended on a date. And there was a 10-day registration window and it opened and it closed. We did that for some specific reasons. And we will do that for our next 2 courses coming out as well. But Rebuilding After Religious Abuse is now available on demand. So if you go to belivefreecollective.com, you can go ahead and purchase it and you start your 1 year. I have been wanting to be able to transition it to that. And I'm so glad that we've done it. So that is a resource now that is available to anyone, anywhere, any time zone at any time. And because we're now not doing it, we're like, I have to be available in a different way because we're like going through it together. And then we did a live Q&A at the end and all of that. The price also did come down, I'm very excited to be able to offer that as well. Now we are going to be, I'm hoping by the end of next year, we do it for the first time. We are going to offer what would be like more of a premiere version, like for anyone who's like, no, I actually want to go through it week by week with a sense of other people going through it. And I want to be able to meet with Naomi to ask questions. And so we are going to offer a different version. There's just like the tech side of kind of making all of that happen and kind of like how much we can do in what time frame. So for anyone who's like, no, I really actually want to go through it in a way where like we're meeting once a week and we're whatever, stay tuned. That is on our radar to create. But for those of you who are like, I just need to get started, please do go ahead and purchase it. Like it's ready and waiting for you. And that was a big win for us over the past couple months.
Huge win. And something else that's exciting about rebuilding anti-religious abuse is that we're in the final stages of providing that foundational course, which Naomi said everyone should go through in Spanish. We're seeing a high demand for spiritual abuse resources, education, and support in the Spanish-speaking community. So with that transition, Naomi, if you want to share more about Rara in Spanish as well as BE in Espanol, we'd love to hear the continued effort toward offering Be Emboldened resources in Spanish.
Some of our team is based in, well, various Spanish-speaking countries. I would say primarily Latin America. And so it has been, I'm so grateful. They have shared with me like what they've experienced, what they're seeing as the need. And then as we've had different people reach out to Be Emboldened, who are primarily English, are primarily Spanish speaking, secondarily English speaking, and they've shared there is nothing that I can send to friends and relatives who are Spanish speaking only. Like there's nothing I can send them. And so we started, I can't remember when it was now. You guys, was like a year, I feel like it was at the end of last year. It may be about a year now where I was like, okay, we've got to do something about this. And this team, again, that I was referencing, that I contract with, they believe in it so much that they've made it more accessible for us to be able to do. So we're able to like get started with some stuff, but I'm really wanting to grow this. I know they're wanting to grow it. We have volunteers who help with translation, which is amazing as well, which makes it, cuts cost for us as an organization to be able to make this happen. They have, oh my goodness, we've got blogs going out in Spanish. So blogs are being translated and going out in Spanish. They're posted right on our website. Which side note, I want to pause here actually on our website because the Spanish elements are not as prominent as I want them to be. And the blogs are mixed in with the English blogs. So we have to do an overhaul on our website in 2025, which is going to be a massive project, but it just has to be done because of how we've grown. There's pages that we don't need anymore. There's stuff that we do that's not even on the website for people to be aware of. Like it has to be overhauled. Which is a good sign of growth. It happens for every organization. So with that being said, we will have a page, again, hopefully by the end of next year, that is all of our Spanish resources on one page so that people will be able to share just that page. And someone who's Spanish speaking doesn't have to go to a page and sift through a bunch of stuff in English that they're unable to read. I just think that's off-putting. And so I want to make this different. So with that being said, that's to come. And so we have blogs already that are going out. 2 more actually just got published within the past couple of days. We have a Spanish Instagram, Facebook page, and YouTube page. And the big thing that's coming, it's already ready. It's just the team getting ready to actually do the launch for it, but it's already been translated. And that was massive. You guys, this is like, 5.5 hours of video? Plus the attachments, like I said, PDFs and weekly summaries that go along with it. It's all been done. Like it's in Spanish. We have it. So that is coming out in 2025. I don't have a release date yet. The last update I had was basically like, it's ready and we're trying, and they're like trying to get it ready to go out. So, and that is going to be at a rate that matches the currency exchange rate. So to give an example, I can't remember, but I know it's under $100 USD. It might be like 50 something, 60 something, 70, something like that. So that it is, again, that team is deciding the price. I'm like, you tell me what you think is reasonable, so that it's accessible for people. And that's what it's going to be. And so they gave me that number and I said, yes. I just can't remember exactly what it was. So that is a huge need. And I just heard it again, like last week, someone saying, I've got family in a Spanish speaking country. And I know so many people and they're like, what am I going to have to do? Like get healed myself so I can create stuff. It's like, no, actually we do have stuff created. They didn't know that. So it's also telling me like, we've got to get the word out better. So we also, there's an email in my inbox right now about our first newsletter going out with all of the Spanish speaking episodes, blogs that were released the previous month. And so we're going to start sending that monthly. So please, if you know of someone who's Spanish speaking, they will have to like ignore the English emails. But there will be a fully Spanish email going out once a month for people, like the contents, like it's in Spanish. And so the final translate, we're just making sure we did, we translated well. We don't trust Google. So we have someone, actually helping us with it to make sure that it's right. So that's going out hopefully by the end of next week. That'll be our first one. So that'll also be a resource that you can, if you're English speaking as well, you can forward on to someone and they'll be able to click the links and see, oh, here's the blogs that came out last month. Here's the YouTube videos that came out last month. We'll include the digital course once that's, launched. So that is an area that I very much want to grow. I have a dream that made me think of, yes. I got distracted for a second. I was like, wait, do I want to share that yet? No, I'm going to hold. So stay tuned. But I have this goal of having a bilingual mentor as well for our team so that someone would be able to get that one-on-one support or maybe have specific virtual gatherings within the BE Plus subscription program where someone bilingual would be there and be able to support people who are primarily Spanish speaking in a direct contact way too. We don't have that person who has presented themselves yet, but I'm hopeful.
Wow, that's incredible, Naomi. I just want to share on the stream real quick. We just got a comment of someone who said, I don't speak Spanish, but I'm so excited for these additions and just cannot agree more with that sentiment. Thank you so much for sharing that. Along, yes, along with that, we're breaking to the Spanish speaking community and seeing a lot of change and growth there. We also want to talk about how we've connected with churches. So we had the opportunity to partner with 2 churches this year, one in Denver and one in Wisconsin, to offer workshops for their needs and communities. And so, Naomi, would you be willing to share with us, what is the vision for going deeper and collaborating with churches in 2025?
So we launched 2 different workshops this year. Each one was conducted. One was conducted once. The other one was a couple of times, 2, 3. I'm not sure. One is aimed at leadership, or it's not aimed at. That sounds like it's targeted. One was designed to support leadership, and the other was designed to support congregations and local communities. So kind of addressing both aspects of the team. And so the one that was designed for church leadership could be split into 2 parts. It's really a full day workshop, and Be Emboldened facilitates the first half, and then Plan to Protect, an organization based out of Canada, has a strong presence in Canada and the United States. They facilitate the second half. And that really helps to get leaders feeling supported again, and like they've really got their feet under them on what spiritual abuse is, how it's presenting in congregations, what the need is for those who are walking in their doors, who people like me, who walked into a church was like, I've been through some things. How do we come alongside people? As well as getting their feet under them for policies and procedures, whistleblower policies, what happens if something happens within their own congregation, what are their best practices, how do they create a plan of care for someone who is a survivor. So all of those elements. And so that's where I brought Plan to Protect in, because they're the policy and procedure people, not strictly, but they're so good with that. And so I'm like, hey, this is a great opportunity for our organizations to come together and provide really good, well-rounded, thorough support for churches. And so that's what we've done. So that is one workshop that's out. And then the other workshop is the one where some of you may have noticed this. We were in Wisconsin back in September, and we did a live stream as well. And so this was an event for congregations, again, in local communities. So it's not strictly like the congregation at that church. And we're desiring to do this more. It may be at a church, it may be held somewhere else in case walking into a church is not a great option for someone. I recognize that can very much be a barrier. With this church, it was great to be able to do because they really wanted to show their support with this topic. But we're open to different venues and hosting, and we've set it up in a way where it doesn't take like absurd resources for the hosting organization to host it. So yeah, if anyone has any interest, please feel free to reach out to us. These are the 2 services that are not on our website currently. And so we do have PDFs, we do have information we can send over, but someone would have to reach out to us for us to be able to share more. But that was amazing. And Natasha, I know that you were there through the live stream. And so you were able to kind of watch, and just I'd be curious for you to share some of your thoughts on it. It was I would love to be doing that once a month. I'm like, fly me somewhere once a month and let me do this. I would do it more, but I've got a kiddo, so I got to be home too. But it was just talk about like filling me up. I mean, it was incredible. And to say to go facilitate for like 5 hours and be interacting and be presenting and all that, and to leave filled up, like that's a statement, because it could be incredibly draining. It was an incredible experience, and I would love to be doing it on a regular basis. And the impact, I mean, the feedback we got from those who attended, I mean, it's just absolutely inspiring.
Yeah, it was incredible to watch, even from a virtual standpoint, just to know, to see, to witness the engagement that people had, asking questions and being present and being just really encouraged and desiring to engage on this topic with you was incredible. So it was even from a virtual standpoint, really awesome to witness.
Mm. Yeah, it was an incredible thing to be a part of. And for that program, it's recognize and rebuild is what we're focusing on. So we had some great feedback on a request for one additional workshop topic. And so we have added that in. And so we are addressing what are red flags, what are best practices for coming alongside someone, what is spiritual abuse, how do we define this? How do we kind of like hone in on what this is? Why does this matter? Like, what is the impact? Like, how big is this? What's the prevalence? And then, okay, I'm a survivor. Like, what can I do for the next steps in my own personal healing and rebuilding journey? And so we're covering all of that. And it's just, yeah, it was incredible. And I know that the church leadership was impacted by it. We had some counselors there, which was wonderful as well. So they're learning more. And that's definitely a vision that we have in the coming couple of years too, is to come alongside more support professionals who are already doing really incredible work so that they can make this a stronger area of expertise for them. And then we have more people to refer to as well. So that's a goal that we have too. I know that we have a lot of support professionals who are following along. I've had the privilege of interacting with many of them, but we also want to provide, and so they're kind of gleaning from what we're doing, but it isn't directed at them. And so they're still getting some great tools and resources out of it. But we also want to create some more resources, or resources in general, that are directly designed for them. And so Anna and I have some fun plans for that coming up.
Wow, that's incredible. Well, thank you all for joining us for this live stream. I just want to mention again, everything that you're hearing about today is really possible because of the generosity of donors who have contributed and invested in this work. So if any of this is inspiring you or resonating with you, again, on a no pressure basis, we understand that there could be some barriers to financially getting involved. But if that's not a barrier for you, we do encourage you to be part of this network of people who really care about this and want to see all of these things happen in 2025. They're not happening without the donations that really sustain our organization and this ministry. So thank you all for being part of that. For those of you who have donated and those of you who have encouraged and prayed for and supported this work, I'm excited to share that we have already raised over 25% of our goal. We're at $5,492 today. And so we encourage you to join with others who are seeing the value in this mission and really making life change possible for survivors of spiritual abuse. So thank you again for joining us for this special live stream to just share about what's happened in 2024 and what we're excited about seeing in 2025. And again, to all of our donors out there, we couldn't do this without you. Your generosity is sustaining the work of Be Emboldened. So we'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions to ask, encouragement to share, comments to make, please feel free to reach out to hello@beemboldened.com and say hello. We always love hearing from you. So with that, may this season bring you joy and healing, and we will see you in 2025. Naomi, any last words before we close?
I think the only thing I would mention is, with all the different services and programs, you may be someone where you're like, okay, like I need something, but I don't know exactly what it is. Please feel free to reach out. I love doing initial 15-minute consultations with people, just like hearing a little bit about like kind of what they think their need is, and then making a recommendation, getting people set up. Again, in a non-pressure way. It's like, hey, okay, here's what I would think. You sit on that. Feel free to reach back out if you want to get set up, whatever. But just helping people kind of work that through. And I'm hoping on the new website, we will be able to kind kind of maybe even have like a little questionnaire that might help like spit out a recommendation for somebody. So feel free to like reach out if you're like, I need something. I don't know what it is. I don't know if anyone else resonates that with that, but there are definitely days where I'm like, I do need something, but no, I'm not sure what. Any suggestions, anyone? And we're happy to help.
Right. Well, thank you all for joining us today. We will hope to see you around, and Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year.